Most of the time, Tekken Twitter drama isn't worth talking about. Even if it's from top players, it's usually not super interesting. But in this case, I think we have an interesting debate and an interesting potential storyline. Let me take you through it. I have Twitter because I have no notes below me. So I'll just show you the tweets below. And I have some gameplay right here on the, this is the left side. It's the right side for me. The left side here is some gameplay of IESF playing Bryan against Arslan's Anna. All right. Why is this the gameplay I'm showing? It'll become clear pretty quickly. So, on July 24th at 6:09 p.m., Spag tweets, they can tell you whatever they want. Bryan is 100% top 3 and needs serious gutting. Spag, a known international instigator, loves creating stories, dramas, and events, is doing it again. Nee, of course, responds, however, it was much more serious and intense than I expected. It's a lot of text here, so I'm going to read you through it. Hang on tight, it's worth the ride. Twitter politics are getting exhausting. Bryan has only won once in TWT Master and Challenger events over the past year and year and a half. Yet people keep making claims. It feels like they're working too hard on politics. Maybe it's because if they keep pushing like this, Bandai Namco Entertainment will actually nerf him. The ones calling Bryan OP are people who don't even play him, of course. They can't play him either. They can't prove anything. Instead of trying to win with skill, they seem to choose politics instead. If Bryan were really that OP, everyone would be playing him, right? There are reportedly 3 Bryans qualified for EWC. There are 3 Eddies as well. But who don't talk about it? I think he's saying, why don't we talk about the Eddies? Other characters might also end up with 3 players or even more once the remaining tickets are decided. But who cares? The best players will rise to the top anyway. I personally think Anna and Nina are strong, so I use them in tournaments. And I even reached number 1 on the leaderboard with Nina. But those calling Bryan OP, they can't prove it. They chose politics over proving themselves. So just ignore posts like that. So what he's saying is not like, geopolitical, in case that wasn't clear. He's talking about the idea that Bandai Namco clearly reads Twitter. And a lot of their decisions, especially in Season 2, were clearly responses to Twitter discourse. Nee, frustrated by this, calls it out directly. Now, obviously, Spag is not a competitor, but he is not the only one tweeting about these characters. And obviously, Nee, someone who is the Bryan, right? Obviously, there are other Bryan players, but when you think of Bryan, you think of Nee. It must be frustrating seeing calls for your character to be nerfed over and over in a way that feels like he's being targeted because people don't want to pick him up. Now, on screen, you see IESF picking up Bryan. IESF is kind of like the Nee of Pakistan in the sense that he is able to play every Tekken character, man. It's ridiculous. People will call him a top tier abuser, things like that. But the fact that he can wield all these characters and play them in such a solid, authentic, and effective way is really, really powerful. So, IESF is playing Bryan. There are a few Bryan mains in Pakistan like Hamad, but you don't, and Bilal, of course, but you don't see them splash picking Bryan like in Tekken 7, where people were picking up like Kunimitsu, people were picking up Fakumram, people were picking up whatever character was the most effective. Arslan picking up Katarina for the finals. So, let's keep moving. I want to make it clear, Nee continues, I'm not claiming Bryan is weak. I've always said he's strong. But since there are pro players on X deliberately playing politics, asking for Bryan to be nerfed, I'm responding to that. The intention behind it is too obvious and deliberate. So this is more or less a direct call out on other pro players, which is unheard of. Usually a lot of the Asian high-level players, and I think high-level Tekken players in general, kind of keep to themselves. It's just play the game. But the meta is changing. Bandai Namco is listening, and Nee feels like he needs to speak. And now Arslan replies, I made a video of top players agreeing Bryan is top 3, but don't worry, one guy said we are all wrong because we don't main him. We need to be a chef to know the food is bad. Sobbing emoji. All right, let me turn up this video, and we'll play this real quick, okay? This is Khan.
Bryan, top 3 or not? Bryan is top 1. Top 3, Bryan hai ke nahi? Top 3, 100%?
IESF thinks top 3.
Bryan top 3 hai ke nahi? Bryan top 3 hai. Bryan top 1.
Top 1. Oh my goodness.
Top
So
2.
Arslan clearly instigating or stoking the flames, because it doesn't seem like he started this.
For me, number one is Bryan.
Okay, so Arslan has declared that Bryan is top 1. Of course, Nee has an answer to this tweet. If I make a video compiling answers saying Bryan isn't top 3, does that suddenly make him not top 3? That's just childish. I feel like if we, Arslan versus Nee, if we played a 1st to 10, me using Nina and you using Bryan, I'd win. You might say he doesn't fit your style, but if he's really a top 3 character, anyone should be able to perform well with him, right? If he's really top 3, then why don't you play him? When Lars was called OP in Season 2, you played Lars. But you're not playing Bryan, right? That's because you can't do good performance with Bryan. The truth is, you just can't play Bryan. You can't handle him. That's why you're busy playing politics, asking for nerfs. The one who wins in a 1st to 10 is the one who's right to do that. The one who's right to do that. If you can't, then just keep playing politics. But if you won't do it, your opinion loses credibility. Wow. A scathing statement. And related, Kawaii Face Miles asks, who's your top 3? And he says, honestly, I don't know. Many characters look strong and good. It's good to pick a top 10, but it's hard to choose a top 3. And that's kind of the position I lean towards. I think you could pick a top 5 or top 10, but top 3 is pretty hard in this game. But Arslan is a champion himself. Who said you'd win? Though. Next year, Korea versus Pakistan main event. Let's run it. 1st to 10, me, Bryan, you, Nina. I'll prove it exactly the way you want. So, I told you, drama is usually not worth it. But a potential 1st to 10 of swapped character mains to determine who is my opinion of the tier list correct? They're fighting over tier list placement, over the idea of tweeting character strength rather than proving it in tournament. What a world we've come to in the Tekken scene, in the fighting game scene. But Nee is not done. Why didn't you practice when you were shouting top 2 and top 3? By your logic, if he's OP or top 2, why would you need to practice until next year? His performance should show. No need to practice a long time, right? Saying let's do it next year just sounds like you're running away because you might lose now. If you can't do it, just keep playing politics. Saying next year is pretty lame. So Nee says, why wait? Let's do it right now. And people are chiming in now. Lady Riggs says he started playing Anna. Well, I think it's Lady Ruggs. Maybe they messed up their tag. Anyways, he started playing Anna, but not Bryan. Arslan has tweeted a while ago, I can never main Lily, Anna, Bryan, Paul, and Ling, no matter how powerful they are. I just don't like these characters. He said this a while ago. But then he won a 96 plus dojo in Pakistan with Anna. So obviously there's multiple layers of truth here, right? So like Arslan Ash has characters he prefers to play, and in general Tekken is a game where you usually solo main a character because there's so much complexity, right? There's a lot of situational complexity, like combo optimization, punishment optimization, and switching between those is really difficult. That's why multi-maining, what Arslan Ash did, what Atif does, what Nee does, is so impressive in the competitive space on the world stage, right? For him to compromise on characters that don't really appeal to him and to play them to compete is a testament to how serious he is as a competitor. This is interesting because it again indicates how strong he thinks Anna really is, which adds credence to Nee's argument, where he says, you jump to Lars, you jump to Anna. Why aren't you jumping to Bryan? If you can't handle him, just say so. Arslan's editor tweets this little meme. It says, this argument doesn't make any sense. A top 3 character doesn't require any random player to be able to play him. That's not one of the variables that determines a top 3 character. For example, think of Tekken 7 Akuma, right? Not just anybody could pick him up. Does that make him top 3? And Nee seems to dodge the argument. He says, Akuma's not Tekken, so I don't want to make that comparison. But then he says, if you can't play Bryan, he can't be top 3, right? If you can't just splash pick Bryan and just pick him up, he can't be top 3. So Arslan's editor puts together this meme saying like, oh, it doesn't apply to Akuma, but it applies to Bryan. What's up with that? And Nee, of course, responds. Video editor and YouTube manager for Arslan Ash 95. He says, I see what you're doing. Well, I won't call my YouTube editor. He's too busy editing videos and doesn't have time to make something like this. So clearly, there are emotions at play here. It's not just the argument of is the character strong or not. Nee, again, has admitted that he feels that Bryan is strong. And this is not a claim that Bryan isn't strong. But he is frustrated that it feels like people are targeting the character on Twitter rather than picking him up and playing him and proving it, right? So Arslan, in response to why wait a year, why not play sooner, other people have been saying, why don't you run the set at EVO, things like that. Arslan says, right now my focus is on EWC and EVO. People can think and feel however they want. Bryan's still top 1. That's not changing. Nee, has been playing Nina and still losing her easiest matchups. So that's working great for him. Let's talk after EWC. So there's a lot of sass. There's a lot of emotions here. And these guys have cordially interacted in the past. They've had like shared interviews. They've had like friendly sets. They always shake hands, things like that. So Arslan Ash looks up to Nee, right? There's a lot of competitive mutual respect, but it's getting a little heated and it's a bit surprising. So I would hope to see a match sooner rather than later, of course. But that leaves us with an open-ended question. Is Bryan top 1, top 2, top 3, top 5? Unfortunately for you, I have no answer for that. But I wanted to share some opinions of other people and, elaborate on the discussion. You can let me know in the comments what you think. Sumrek says, one guy in this video is me. I told Arslan he isn't top 3. Well, maybe he's not in the video specifically, right? But he said, one guy is me. I told Arslan Bryan is not top 3. I told everyone you can't play him because he isn't to play like other characters. I asked everyone what his OP moves are aside from his damage. What is OP? QCB1, where he does cannonball straight, the high. He goes, Kya! And it's a counter hit launcher. It's like +1 on block. It's like a baby electric. 441 +2. When he's in Snake Eyes, it has like super armor and it is like a true reversal on almost any move. It's a really, really ridiculous move to have on a counter hit character because usually Bryan has big slow moves that he has to read your timing on in order to place well. So having a really strong reversal, right, that comes out much more quickly than his standard moves and has a quicker window of countering other moves is very powerful. It's another reason why Asuka is so strong, right? It's not just being a counter hit character, but having a strong reversal. It makes it so that the window of time where you can attack a character is really tiny. Because if you're too quick, strong reversal. If you're too late, strong counter hit, right? Like of a slow big button. So you have this tiny window. It's very difficult to fight against. And then the Snake Eyes moves like Neo Incinerator, forward 212. Basically Lydia's political storm, but it fully realigns in like almost 360 degrees. So Bryan is strong undoubtedly, but he's difficult to wield. That's the argument being put forward, and Nee agrees. Thank you. You know the truth. Daniel Motto chimes in after this video saying top 3 is hard to say because many characters are strong. So it can be top 3 with the same level as other characters, but he's definitely weaker and harder than Anna and Nina. So top 3, sure, definitively weaker than Anna and Nina. All right. And finally, of course, coach and friend Speed Kicks chimes in. He said this is the funniest Arslan tweet ever. I don't know if Bryan's top 3 or not, but half these guys in the video are known for picking characters when they're easy and strong. So they think Bryan is strong, but it's easier to ask for nerfs than to play him. So basically, in accord with Nee's point. We could talk about the balance of that all day, but I also wanted to point out that Nee did pick Nina in the STL finals, which happened yesterday as of the recording of this video. This is like a Korean league where they run multiple online tournaments and they culminate in an offline finals. And Nee picks Nina against Rang Chu's Bear, right? Because it is a pretty favorable matchup. He's putting his money where his mouth is, learning the character. So we are seeing Nee's Nina already in play. And as far as I'm aware, we have yet to see Arslan's Bryan. Now, to Arslan's credit, I agree with him in a sense that it makes sense to give him time to practice a character so that he can prove it. But a year is a long time. In a year, they could already completely change the state of the balance, right? We may have no clue what the tier list would be once again, because we're in such a turbulent time of Tekken patches and developers listening to people on Twitter, which is where this argument came from in the first place, right? The fact that the developers are so visibly listening on Twitter is part of the reason we are even in this position. I'm going to skip ahead in this VOD real quick. I'll link these VODs below if you want to take some time to watch it. But Arslan was tweeting that Nii was struggling in her most difficult matchups, and I don't know how this set plays out because I didn't take time to watch it, but it looks like Rangchu is on the edge of closing it out 2-0. Yeah, there it is. So Nii goes down 2-0. I believe Nina is a pretty good matchup against the Bears, because the Bears are really good when they can create space, put out their big counter hit moves, the big chip damage moves, and then interrupt with 1-1-1. So Nina being sticky and a strong poke and aggression character is usually tough for the Bears. Obviously, though, Rangchu very experienced in dealing with that type of matchup. So that is basically the full update on this Twitter drama. It's a lot more heated than I normally expect, and there's a lot of speculation. Earlier, if you're unaware, basically Arslan was banned by IESF, and they put out this announcement very recently, despite the ban happening in 2022, and it was for the use of anabolic steroids, right? Now, I am not a medical expert by any means, but from initial Google research, it seems to be that this kind of drug doesn't really affect reaction time. So my understanding is, from an esports perspective, it shouldn't have affected him during tournaments, but it was a legitimate concern because Arslan Ash is known for his reactions. If he was taking something that benefited his reaction speed, that would call into question his EVO titles, his Tekken World Tour Finals title, right? But from what I understand, that's not the case. However, Nii did retweet one of the early tweets about Arslan being banned in this announcement. Now, Arslan did speak on this, and I won't read the whole tweet here. I'll link it below if you want to go through it, since, you know, this is more about Bryan than about drugs. But he talked about going to a gym, being sold supplements, and basically paying for something he was largely unaware of. Once he was banned, because he was they were judging him according to Olympic level standards at IESF, he said he quit, he went to a different gym, and he started educating himself. And he also asserts that this has nothing to do with his esports journey, right? So, yeah, he's been winning before he even went to the gym and got super swole with the help of the steroids. So, to me, this is unrelated. However, it could explain why the emotional tensions are so high, right? For two players who have been very cordial on screen together, they always shake hands at tournaments, they have mutual respect as competitors, and Arslan looks up to Nii. So for all of these things, this Twitter drama has seemed a lot more intense than I had normally expected. And I'm sure there are a lot of factors at play. That initial retweet of this drug scandal for Arslan was probably really shocking to Arslan as someone who looks up to Nii a lot. So I have to imagine that's at play, but again, this is a lot of speculation, and as much as possible, I prefer to keep it to the game. So the reality of the situation is that Bandai Namco is reading Twitter, and because they're reading Twitter, we suddenly have a situation where pro players feel like they have to defend their character or put out challenges, say first attend me or stop talking. And to me, that part where we may get this grudge match, this first to 10 of swapped character mains between two of the greatest Tekken players of all time, that part is exciting to me. I've been yapping for a while. If you stuck around this long, thanks so much. Let me know in the comments. Even if I'm just on your second monitor or on your phone while you're cooking, I appreciate being able to be here. I appreciate you supporting me. So leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed being here. Subscribe for more, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.